What is going on, everyone? Welcome into a bittersweet moment. This is our final video for the 2022 NFL Draft. Well, at least until we revisit these grades in 2 years from now. That'll technically be our final 2022 NFL Draft video. But we are here with our final division, the AFC West. Thank you, AFC West fans, for waiting. But at the end of the day, you guys all had an amazing offseason. You got all the fun, so you kind of had to wait your turn. You had your fun. But this is going to be a fun video, man. We kind of have 4 good drafts here for the AFC West. Some of these teams didn't have a ton of early picks anyway because they've had such exciting off seasons. But please do hit that like button, everybody, if you've enjoyed this video, if you've enjoyed all of the draft grades videos. Really would help me out. Make sure you subscribe if you're not. You can check out all of the other draft grades that we've done. You're also not going to want to miss my summer deep dive series where we're doing in-depth looks at every single team. Got a lot of guests lined up. We're going to be counting down an order of my power rankings. So that's one of my most favorite things, one of the most unique things that I do here on this channel. So you're not going to want to miss that if you are new to the channel. But let's get into it, starting with the Denver Broncos. Denver, of course, gave up a couple of picks to get Russell Wilson, and we're only factoring in what happened this weekend, but it didn't really matter what they did because you got your quarterback, one of the biggest W's of the entire offseason right there. But let's talk about what they were able to pull off this weekend because I think they did a lot with what they had. So the last pick in the second round there, Nick Bonito, obviously essentially a third round pick there, but man, this is such a good fit. Not only is this a great value, but a big need for Denver. You've got Randy Gregory, who, he's just not a great early down player. He's improved his run defense over the years, but someone you ideally want to keep fresh, limit his snap counts, all that stuff. Bradley Chubb, nearing a contract, someone that has struggled to stay on the field with injuries. So to get a talented edge player like Nick Bonito in the building, not just to provide depth and someone that can provide a spark right away, this guy is one of the most explosive players in the entire draft, honestly. And I think his testing numbers were pretty dang close to back that statement up. But when you watch him play, my comparison for him was a literal ball of lightning. I do think he's the most bendy edge rusher in this class. He just has no idea what he's doing when it comes to pass rush moves, and his play strength's lacking. He needs to be coached up. He, like I said, is a ball of lightning that needs to be honed in and pointed in the right direction. I think this is a great landing spot for him to be a backup, be a rotational player right away, and eventually give you a starting caliber player. Really good value at a high impact position. Big fan of this draft pick. Then Greg Dulcich comes off the board in the middle of the third round. Really good spot for him. I feel like I was kind of talking down on Greg Dulcich pre-draft just because I did think second round would have been a little bit rich for him, but man, middle of the third round, exactly the right value for him, and can't draw up a much better fit. I actually talked about Denver needing a second tight end as one of their bigger needs to complete this sort of championship profile. If you remember, they lost Noah Fant in that trade. This is a team with the Green Bay staff coming over that's going to want to play a lot of 12 personnel. So yes, you have Albert O. That's awesome. He's going to be your Y tight end. And then Greg Dulcich, who my problem with him was he is a lighter player. You know who my comp was for Greg Dulcich? Robert Tonyan. So obviously Nathaniel Hackett sees him as is Robert Tonyan, someone that can play off the ball a little bit, Y tight end, get him going on all of the Shanahan style stuff. This is an excellent fit for Greg Dulcich, and I think this is how you get the most out of a guy that, if used as more of an inline Y tight end, I think would have struggled a little bit more. But great spot there for Greg Dulcich. Then Damari Mathis, one of my guys, comes off the board in the fourth round. I had a third round grade on him. Really fun watch. Super physical corner, better in man coverage, but a better athlete than I believe he got credit for. He showed flashes in zone coverage, was just overly risky, which might not be the end of the world. He doesn't have to start here. I think they can coach him up in zone, and he has upside, in my opinion, to eventually be a better player than, say, Michael Ojemudia, who maybe is a little bit more maxed out, physically speaking. Okay, then into the, just the next pick, Ioma Uwazurike out of Iowa State. Didn't think he was a bad player. Really thin defensive tackle class, tough to find guys that can step in right away and get in guys' way. I did think he was one of those guys that can be sort of a fourth defensive tackle immediately. I would hold back a little bit and say Neil Farrell would have been a significantly better pick. Farrell ends up going to the Interdivision Raiders, so there's not a whole lot of negative things to say in this video. That would be one little criticism. We'll see how that turns out. Of course, going off of my own evaluations, I thought Farrell was a much better player than Uwuzurike, but at the end of the day, they got what they were looking for, and that's a rotational interior defensive lineman. Then they grabbed DeLauren Turner-Yell out of Oklahoma, right around the grade I had on him, a 5th round. And I really liked him going to a hybrid split safety defense, perfect landing spot here in Denver. Just kind of raw and needs to be coached up as far as route anticipation, understanding his assignment better, risk management, all of that stuff you want from a safety position. But this guy is a really fluid mover in space and a great athlete, and gives them more depth than a special teamer to potentially evolve as a safety. And with them bringing back Kareem Jackson, Turner-Yell, physically speaking, is kind of a physical clone of Kareem Jackson if you just kind of look at their profiles there. So good spot for him to go for sure. Then they go Montrell Washington out of Stanford. I didn't get to him. 5'8" guy with good testing numbers. Probably someone they view as more of a kick returner, maybe a slot option for them. Then they take Luke Wattenberg out of Washington. Didn't have a draftable grade on him, but an athlete that fits their wide zone blocking scheme. Whatever. Matt Henningsen out of Wisconsin. Another player I didn't get to, so I'm going to hold back on any criticism of that pick. And then same thing goes with Fayon Hicks out of Wisconsin. So Denver kind of loading up early here on some guys I didn't get to. Did about 340 players this year. Denver took, I think, 3 out of about the 10 guys that I did not watch. So they obviously liked what they saw from that Wisconsin Pro Day. They used their last 2 picks on it, but ultimately a really good draft for the Denver Broncos. I give this draft an A-. I think if you just look at sort of what their needs were for a team that was trying to win right now, they kind of went right down the board and got really good values to me, with the exception, I would have gone Neil Farrell over Ioma Uwuzurike, but I think Uwuzurike will play his role just fine. So yeah, good draft for the Denver Broncos. Very good draft given what they had. Okay, then the Kansas City Chiefs. This to me was phenomenal. This stacks up with the Baltimore Ravens draft class, the AFC, man. The rich just keep getting richer. This Chiefs draft is everything you could have dreamed of. They trade away Tyreek Hill, so if you're going to do that, you better knock this draft out of the park and some, and I think they did that. I think they got some exceptional value at impact players and didn't really slip up and make any big mistakes worth criticizing either. So Trent McDuffie, A+ pick for me here. Same with George Karlaftis. This is the easiest way I could put this. For me, I had 19 true first-round grades on players in this draft class. Trent McDuffie and George Karlaftis were 2 of them. These guys play premium impact positions, cornerback and edge, and the Chiefs got both of them outside of the top 19 picks. Both of them as well, edge and cornerback, were their 2 biggest needs. So you really can't possibly ask for any more from the Kansas City Chiefs. I love the aggressiveness to jump the Buffalo Bills to get Trent McDuffie. That's like an extra A+ here. Probably going to be your biggest threat in the playoffs. I know this division as well is looking up as well, but let's face it, the Chiefs and the Bills are still the cream of the crop in the AFC. So to prevent the Bills from getting Trent McDuffie, forcing them to end up with Kaiir Elam instead, both good players, but I did have a pretty big gap there between McDuffie and Elam. So just all around, love this. Karlaftis to me was actually ahead of Trayvon Walker on my own draft board, who went with the number 1 overall pick. Impact, immediate, high-end pass rusher. Reminds me so much of Trey Hendrickson, who gave this team fits in the playoffs. So George Karlaftis, Trent McDuffie, just right there. You're doing a great job. Everyone thought the Chiefs were going to go wide receiver here in the first, and they could have done that, but man, defense for them, for me, was such a bigger need. But then in the second round, they come back and get that wide receiver that fits so perfectly with everything they have there, right? You have MVS is your true deep threat. You obviously have Kelsey there. Juju's more of your typical possession X receiver, if you will. Mecole Hardman, you hope he can continue to develop, but it's been disappointing for him so far. Sky Moore is your slot guy, your intermediate weapon. Such an awesome fit here. Really like this pick, and excellent value. Brian Cook is the one that just doesn't get me quite as excited, but hey, a lot of safeties had come off the board at this point. You know, I had Jaquan Brisker, Lewis Seen as more second, third round talents, so those guys were more off the board. Brian Cook was one of the better safeties available, so yes, it's a little bit earlier than I would have liked to take him. I don't think he's going to be some star defender, but they did need some help in that safety room. He's going to compete with Juan Thornhill right away, and I don't think they have any interest in paying Juan Thornhill long term, so he will fit their system as a strong safety as the years go on. Not any true criticism of that pick, especially when you get Leo Chanel at the end of the third round, basically a fourth round pick. Miami gift wraps this to you by taking Channing Tindall the pick before. I don't know if that was a little wink wink, thanks for giving us Tyreek Hill, or if the Chiefs really are just that lucky. Last year the Packers took Josh Myers right before they got Creed Humphrey. This is very similar, man. Leo Chanel, I do not understand how he fell. Literally one of the most athletic linebackers in the history of the world, and that's not hyperbole. RAS scores, Math Bomb on Twitter has him like fourth out of frickin' all time since 1987, I think. So 250 pounds, 6'2". And what's crazy is he might not even start right away. He'll play in base for them for sure. He'll help them defend the run. He can be a blitz backer if they want to kind of rotate him with maybe Willie Gay, Nick Bolton. Hard to say exactly like what role he's going to play because they have talented linebackers already. But my God, Leo Chanel had no business going in the third round. I think he's a better player than Quay Walker, who the Packers took in the first round. So Packers again, potentially taking a worse player, giving the Chiefs a better player later on in the draft. We'll see how that plays out. That is my opinion. But man, what an exciting pick. I coined the Zion McCollum pick to the Bucs as the best pick of the draft. Let's split that up and say Leo Chanel's the best pick in the AFC and Zion McCollum is the best pick in the NFC. This is an absolute steal. Then Josh Williams at the end of the fourth round. I didn't really see it with Josh Williams, but I don't really fault them for this. He's a lengthy, kind of physical, athletic profile, not unlike Charvarius Ward. It's something you didn't really get with Trent McDuffie. You can lump Jalen Watson in there with that. I just wasn't huge on either of those players. Maybe they surprised me, but those picks were fine. Then they get Darian Kinnard in the fifth round. And man, a lot of people like Darian Kinnard. I thought he was really solid, big, strong, kind of thumping type of tackle to guard convert. I think he falls here because, for one, he played tackle at college, gonna have to step inside and play guard. His footwork it sucks. Like he cannot protect against speed against the edge. It's good to know he has that tackle experience in there, and maybe he can step in if you have injuries and hold up okay, but you don't want him starting at tackle. That's bad business. But he's also very scheme dependent. You've got half the league running Shanahan style offenses nowadays. He can't really play in that because he's just not athletic enough, but he fits just fine in the Kansas City Chiefs kind of more spread style offense. And he's got a tough path to getting any playing time here. It's a very good interior offensive line, but an excellent backup, a swing tackle. Man, fifth round pick for him. He's a good player. Then Isaiah Pacheco in the seventh round. Fine. This is basically a Mr. Irrelevant pick. He's a really good athlete. I compare him to Robert Turbin, who stuck around in the league for a little bit. Just a freaky athlete who's completely rocked up. A gym rat who, once he steps on the football field, just doesn't have a lot of vision and creativity as a runner. Was really underwhelmed by him. But there's some explosiveness in there. Maybe they can unlock him, get him to be a threat on special teams. And then talk about special teams, man. Najee Johnson out of Marshall was not on my radar. Maybe he's better at corner than I'm giving him credit for, but this is the type of athleticism you want to gamble on late in the draft. Had to do some post-draft analysis on him, but man, this guy's 5'10", 200 pounds, ran a 4.35 40, 1.52 10-yard split, 42-inch vertical jump, a 10'9" broad jump, 6'9" 7.3 cone, put up 16 on the bench. This guy's a freak. I mean, tough dude that's going to play special teams. Hard to complain about that this late in the draft, and maybe he develops a corner as well. So an A-plus draft for me for the Kansas City Chiefs. Everything they needed after trading away Tyreek Hill. They've regrouped with the wide receiver core. I could make an argument that it's actually better than what they had last year. They have a plethora of weaponry now and a much better defense than they had last year. So this is excellent for the Chiefs to get themselves, for me, right back at the top of the AFC, which was a question mark heading into the draft, and they crushed it. Good job for Kansas City. Okay, the Las Vegas Raiders here, just 6 picks, but another team here, credit to the AFC West. They knew they had to be on their game this draft. If you slip up just a little bit in this division, you can't fall back at all, and the Raiders kept pace, which is something they've struggled with, man. So obviously, they go get Devontae Adams. That's not going to be factored in here. We're just looking at what these teams did over last weekend. But having to wait all the way until the 3rd round, and I think they actually traded down from this spot to recoup even more picks, but to get Dylan Parham at the back end of the 3rd round, one of the bigger steals I almost said of day 3, but basically a day 3 pick here. Just awesome, man. 2nd, 3rd round talent, a plug-and-play interior offensive lineman. Gives you so much flexibility. It's an offensive line in total flux. I'm still a little bit worried about their right tackle situation. Maybe Leatherwood kicks back out there. We'll see. Maybe they can attract one of these veterans, but man, you have someone that can play left guard, center, or right guard, and you don't have to worry about it. So I think he's a day 1 starter. Yeah, he's a little bit undersized. He's not the most powerful guy, but God, he's just smooth. He's athletic. He's tough, and really good technique across the board. So hard to complain about that at all. In fact, I give it an A. They take Zamir White in the 4th. I really like Zamir White. For everything Georgia did great, I actually thought their run blocking was below average, especially with Zamir White. And he didn't have a ton of wide open rush lanes, but when he got good blocking, God, he was explosive. I think this is really good value in the 4th round. They did not pick up Josh Jacobs' 5th-year option, so you can stash Zamir White, give him another full year to kind of get those knees fully fresh. This is a guy that's torn 2 ACLs in his career, but I think you let Josh Jacobs go, and Zamir White steps in as that early down bruiser for them. I compared him to Damian Harris, obviously Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator coming over from New England. I think he sees a very similar running back to what he had in Damian Harris here. So if he turns into Damian Harris, you'll take that in the 4th round every day of the week. And then Neil Farrell, we talked about this with Denver. I think this is an outstanding value. I had a 3rd to a 4th round grade on him. I kept saying there's only about 4 or 5 defensive tackles in this draft that I think can be starting early down run defenders, and Neil Farrell was one of them. So to get him in the 4th round, especially after your division rival Broncos passed on him, that's an extra little plus. I think he's Tim Settle. I think he's a 3rd defensive tackle for you. For the Raiders, he's going to get a lot of playing time. That is a rough interior defensive line group, and man, what a steal to get Neil Farrell this late. Really not a good athlete, but this guy was year in, year out a dominant run defender, held his own, big body dude in the SEC, and goes all the way back to that national championship defense. He was getting playing time way back then. So they double dip here and take Matthew Butler out of Tennessee. Another good value. Just kind of a good athlete, a guy that got better every year. I don't think there's a whole lot there, but I think he can become a rotational kind of 3rd or 4th 3 technique. In a poor defensive line class, this is someone I didn't mind and thought was genuinely draftable, so that might not sound like much, but I'm telling you, this interior defensive line class was literal ass, and to get just a competent athlete with some bit of upside that can play a little bit right now in the 5th round, that's really good. Other years, maybe he's a 7th round guy, but this year, you kind of had to do what you had to do to get anybody that can, smell the field. So good pick there. Thayer Munford out of Ohio State. I thought he was pretty bad when I watched him. Not a great athlete. Is what it is. I don't know if he'll even make this team. Britton Brown, a running back out of UCLA, I did not get to either. Maybe he's good. I don't know. 7th round running back. They have a bunch of guys already. We'll see if he makes the team as well. A couple of 7th round picks, doesn't really matter. Overall, I give this draft an A. And yeah, they're not walking out of here with superstars or whatever, but you knew that wasn't going to happen. They didn't pick until the end of the 3rd round. So we're grading these drafts based on what they had, and I thought the Raiders did as good as you could possibly ask for there. Then the LA Chargers, pretty solid draft here. You know, they start with Zion Johnson, and you know I love this pick. This was my guys of my guys this year. I had him as a top 5 graded player in this draft. I think he's a day 1 Pro Bowl caliber guard. And, you know, for the Chargers, who had huge issues at right guard, right tackle, I love that they said, you know what? No, let's not take Trevor Penning, who's going to have his hiccups in year 1. We're trying to win a Super Bowl right now. Forget that. Let's take the guy who is a rock solid Pro Bowl caliber player now, who maybe isn't a tackle, can play guard. Maybe Zion can play tackle. His arm length is good enough. We'll see what they do there. But you have Matt Filer on the roster, who's played really good reps at right tackle, back for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So gives you some flexibility there. I like one of their other offensive line picks later that we'll get to there. But I love the thinking there. You know, like Zion is a monster. Take the better player, figure it out later. You needed 2 offensive linemen, or at least, you know, could use a guard and or a tackle. So I'm a huge fan of this pick and the value. Guys, like Zion Johnson's so freaking good. I love this pick for the Chargers. They always seem to end up with my guys. I don't know why. But then you don't have that 2nd round pick, of course, because you got Khalil Mack. You're pretty happy with that. But only doing what they're doing on draft weekend here. They take JT Woods in the 3rd. This is fine. He got a 3rd to a 4th round grade for me because you almost just have to gamble on the speed that he has. This dude's a track freak. Ran in the 4.3s. He's big. He hits. He's not going to make an impact for them right away other than special teams. So maybe Nasir Adderley doesn't take that next step and JT Woods develops. Just from a value perspective, you had to draft this guy early because his upside is crazy high. You just don't find safeties with this athletic ability, and he's got some playmaking instincts as well. He just takes way too many risks and finds himself out of position. Maybe he can play too high and be a 3rd safety as you bring Derwin down, and he'll make some plays. Not trying to talk down on this pick. I just would temper your expectations for him to be any sort of an impact in year 1. Then Isaiah Spiller in the 4th round. I'm fine with this. He's a backup running back for me and a guy that kind of has the full package, but checks every box on like a B level, not an A level. I don't think he does anything that really blows you away, but gives you someone with good vision who can run through some tough tackles and get some tough yardage next to Austin Eckler. No true problem with this pick. The grade, the value was fine. I would say, you know, I would have rather taken Neil Farrell in the 4th and then gone and got Tyler Algier or someone else in the 5th. A little bit nitpicky there for sure. They take Otito Ogbanya out of UCLA. Huge body dude. Another guy that, again, in a really bad defensive line class, he has some traits. This dude looks the part. He's 6'4", 320 pounds, has some get off, has some power. You can kind of put him in one gap and say, go, and hope in time he develops any sort of run discipline, any sort of other pass rush moves. Very much a one-trick pony, but the physical traits are there. So him and JT Woods, to me, are more developmental picks. Jamari Sawyer, though, in the 6th round, excellent value. 3rd to a 4th round guy for me. Gives you even more flexibility on that offensive line. It's a guy that did play tackle at Georgia. His foot speed sucks, but again, just gives you options. I think he's someone that can contribute right away, especially as a guard. Had a really good Senior Bowl, really strong, good, accurate arms, and steady feet, even if they're a little bit slower. Good anchor and all that stuff. So, you know, honestly, kind of like I alluded to earlier, you really could have used 2 more offensive linemen here. On that right side of the line, coming into the draft, you know, they were looking at Storm Norton, Brendan Hymus, Trey Pipkins, like a bunch of crap at the right side of the offensive line. So for me, this gives you 3 players with positional flexibility that are all, well, including Matt Filer, of course, at left guard, with Zion and Sawyer, 3 guys with experience and positional flexibility to figure out what your best unit's going to be. I think they did a really good job with that. I think you probably play Filer at right tackle with Johnson and Sawyer as your guards. So you got a starting guard potentially in the 6th round. Maybe the evaluation's off and you end up using like Trey Pipkins or Hymus takes a step up or something like that. But I do genuinely think Jamari Sawyer is better than anybody else they have and could be similar to their division rivals stealing Trey Smith in the 6th round last year. So obviously Trey Smith fell for different reasons. Sawyer, probably because he's a bit of a tweener and a, you know, tackle to guard convert and not the most amazing athlete in the world, but man, he fits their system really well, and to get him in the 6th round was a little bit too good to be true for them. Then they take a couple guys I didn't get to, Jasir Taylor out of Wake Forest, and just doing some post-draft evaluation on him. Looks like a guy I would have liked had I been able to get around to him. Just really quick, smooth athlete, good for their off-zone coverage system. So keep an eye on him. Dean Leonard, another gamble on athleticism. Hard to fault that late in the 7th round, special teamer type. And then Xander Horvath, fullback out of Purdue. I don't evaluate fullbacks, but hey, honestly, I don't hate drafting a fullback if you feel you need one on your roster. They probably liked what they saw. Good for them. Totally cool with that pick. So I do like this Chargers draft. It's a B+. I wasn't overly excited about the kind of inside of this draft. Woods, Spiller, Agbanya. I don't know. I just gut feel maybe. I don't know if they're going to turn into a whole lot. I could obviously be wrong, but the value was fine. Then Sawyer, obviously a steal there in the 6th. You fixed your offensive line in this draft, and I don't know if they did a whole lot other than that, but that's pretty much everything the Chargers needed from this draft. So kind of similar to like the Buffalo Bills draft, honestly. You filled your biggest needs and did a little bit of interesting stuff that was nothing crazy, and that's a good draft for a team that's trying to win right now. You filled your biggest needs and go get it done now. So that wraps up the AFC West. 4 really good drafts in my opinion. That wraps up all of our divisional draft grades. Thank you so much, you guys, for watching. Make sure you go check out all the other divisional draft grades videos. I'm not going to be making content for about 2 weeks. I might sprinkle in a 2020 regrading the 2020 draft video if I have time to get to that and aren't just if I'm not just totally burnt out. Heading to Boston this weekend. Gonna just check out. Won't be on Twitter much, any of that. So looking forward to having a break after all of the draft stuff. But when we come back, it's deep dive season, baby. We got some guest lines lined up. Gonna be so much fun getting into that. I really appreciate everybody for making this such a special draft season. Your support was incredible, whether it was Patreon, whether it was watching all the videos, liking the videos, the Twitter interaction, everything. You guys are the best fans in the world, and I could not be any more fortunate to be able to do this, and it's all because of you. So thank you for another amazing draft season. Getting sappy here, but again, thank you, and we'll see you guys for the next video, whenever that may be. Peace out.